The apartment was silent until Emily Carter's scream shattered it, raw and trembling with fear. Daniel Carter slammed the door, his anger heavy in the crash of wood against metal. Liam Carter clung to his mother, his small arms desperate, his breath quick with confusion. Emily's heart pounded, every beat echoing the fear that Daniel's betrayal had carved into her. The sirens in the distance wove into the chaos, reminding her that life outside this storm still carried on, indifferent to her collapse. She whispered to Liam, "I won't let him take you." Her body trembled, but her words carried a promise, forged in desperation. The night air seeped through the window, chilling her skin as she pressed Liam closer. The world had changed in a single instant, and Emily stood frozen, knowing she must fight for their survival. Every choice from this moment would determine if their bond could endure the weight of Daniel's wrath. Emily held Liam close, her hands shaking as she rocked him in silence. His small body clung to her like an anchor, grounding her in the chaos that threatened to consume her. She whispered, "It's just us now." The words burned her throat as they left her lips, a promise and a curse. Liam lifted his eyes, glossy with tears, and asked, "Mom, is he coming back?" Emily froze, unable to answer. The apartment smelled of dust and broken memories, the remnants of Daniel's presence still lingering in the air. Emily pressed her cheek against Liam's hair, vowing silently that no matter the battles ahead, she would stand between him and the storm. Her strength was not born of choice, but of necessity, and she would not falter. The phone buzzed on the table, pulling Emily from her haze. Sarah Mitchell's name glowed across the screen, a reminder of the only friend who hadn't walked away. Emily answered, her voice thin. Sarah said, "I heard shouting. Are you okay?" Tears welled again, but Emily forced words past the lump in her throat. "He left, Sarah. He left us like we were nothing." Silence lingered before Sarah replied, "You're not nothing. You're stronger than he'll ever be." The words clung to Emily's heart, fragile threads holding her together. She knew Sarah was right, but belief was a distant shore, and Emily was still drowning. When the apartment finally grew quiet, Emily sat alone at the kitchen table. Bills, letters, and a cracked photo frame of her wedding stared back at her, each piece a weight she carried. She traced the outline of the photo, her hand trembling as if touching a ghost. Memories flooded, nights of laughter, the promises Daniel had broken, the love that had withered into anger. She whispered to herself, "Every sacrifice was for Liam. I'll keep going." Her voice cracked, but it was steady enough to remind her that giving up was never an option. In the silence, Emily understood. Her pain was real, but so was her resolve. The knock on the door came softly, yet it shook Emily to her core. Liam stirred on the couch, rubbing his tired eyes. Emily approached slowly, dread pressing against her chest. When she opened the door, a plain envelope lay on the floor, stamped with the court's seal. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, tearing it open under the pale glow of the hallway light. Words leapt from the paper, "custody hearing." Her knees buckled, and she gripped the doorframe for strength. Liam's voice carried faintly behind her, "Mom?" She hid the paper behind her back, whispering with resolve, "It's nothing you need to worry about." But her eyes betrayed the storm within. Emily opened the door only to find Daniel waiting, his face twisted with fury. He leaned close and hissed, "You can't keep him from me." Her hands trembled, gripping the frame as Liam stirred behind her. Daniel's words cut like a knife, every syllable dripping with accusation. Emily whispered, "You left us broken, Daniel. He deserves peace." His jaw clenched, and his fists curled as if rage alone could win him back what love had lost. Liam peeked out, his eyes wide and fearful. Daniel's voice grew sharper, "This fight isn't over. I'll take him if it's the last thing I do." Emily's heart thundered as she shut the door with force, sealing herself in with her child. She pressed her forehead against the wood, whispering to herself, "He won't win. I won't let him." Morning light broke across the office, but Emily's world remained dark. She sat at her cluttered desk, hands trembling over the keyboard. Her manager's voice cut across the room, cold and dismissive. "Your performance is slipping, Emily." Heat rushed to her cheeks as shame battled with anger. She stammered, I'm doing my best. His eyes narrowed. Your best isn't enough. We need reliability. The words sank heavy, pressing like stones against her chest. She imagined the consequences. No job, no income, no future for Liam. She gripped the edge of the desk, whispering silently, "Don't break now. He needs you strong." The office chatter carried on around her, indifferent to her quiet unraveling. Later that evening, Sarah arrived, her presence a balm against the day's wounds. She embraced Emily tightly, whispering, "You're not alone." Emily's tears spilled freely, soaking Sarah's shoulder. "I can't do this, Sarah. He's stronger, richer, and the courts don't see me." Sarah pulled back, gripping her hands firmly. "You are more than enough. Don't let him break you." Emily's voice quivered. "But what if I fail Liam?" Sarah's gaze softened, her voice steady. "Then you stand back up, because he needs you to fight." Emily nodded weakly, the flicker of courage reigniting in her chest, fragile yet undeniable. That night, Liam shuffled into the room, dragging his blanket. He climbed onto the couch beside Emily, his small voice breaking the silence. "Mom, I don't want him to come back." Emily's chest tightened as she pulled him close, her hand stroking his hair. "I know, sweetheart," she whispered. His eyes searched hers, filled with fear too heavy for his years. "Promise me he won't take me away." Emily forced strength into her trembling voice. "I promise, Liam." He rested his head against her shoulder, clinging to her as though she was the only anchor in a storm. Emily closed her eyes, silently vowing to fight harder than she ever had before. Days later, Emily sat nervously in the family court office, hands folded tightly in her lap. Judge Anderson entered, his expression unreadable. Papers shuffled as he glanced at her. "You understand what's at stake, Miss Carter?" She nodded, her voice shaking. "My son's future." His gaze softened for a fleeting second before he leaned back, tone measured. "We will evaluate both environments." The words struck Emily like a verdict already written. She clenched her fists under the table, whispering inwardly, "They don't know what he's capable of." The air felt suffocating, heavy with judgment. Still, Emily sat tall, determined not to let them see her fear. Emily's chest tightened as Sarah's words spilled out, raw and hesitant. "I knew Daniel was planning something," Sarah admitted, her eyes wet. Emily's breath caught, betrayal cutting deeper than any wound Daniel had inflicted. "You knew? And you didn't tell me?" Emily's voice cracked, trembling with disbelief. Sarah's tears fell, her hands reaching but finding only distance. "I thought I could stop him, Emily. I thought I was protecting you." The silence swelled, heavy and suffocating. Emily turned away, clutching the edge of the couch, fury mixing with heartbreak. Liam's laughter echoed faintly from his room, a reminder of what was truly at stake. Emily whispered coldly, "I don't know if I can forgive you." The phone's ring pierced the silence. Emily answered, her hand trembling. Daniel's voice slid through the line, sharp as broken glass. "You can't stop me, Emily. I'll destroy you in court. You'll lose everything." Emily's heart pounded, her throat tightening as she forced words past the fear. "You left us broken, Daniel. You can't take him." His laughter was cruel, echoing like a shadow. "Watch me." The call ended abruptly, leaving Emily clutching the phone, her breath ragged. She pressed her forehead against the wall, whispering to herself, "He won't take Liam. He won't." The silence after his threats was louder than the storm itself, settling heavy across her chest. That night, Emily sat alone, the past clawing its way into the present. She saw her father, Michael Carter, stern and unyielding, his voice echoing from memory. "You were never strong enough, Emily. Always running, always failing." She gripped the table, shaking her head as if to push him away, but his voice pressed harder. "You'll lose him, just like you've lost everything else." Tears streamed as she whispered, "No, not this time. I won't fail him." The memory faded, leaving the apartment quiet, but the wounds cut deeper than before. Her father's ghost was gone, yet his words lingered, cruel reminders of the doubts she carried within. Emily collapsed on the couch, her strength dissolving into sobs. Her body shook as she buried her face in her hands. The weight of betrayal, threats, and memories pressed until she could barely breathe. "I can't do this," she whispered, her words breaking. The sound of footsteps drew her eyes upward. Liam stood there, blanket in hand, eyes wide with worry. "Mom?" His voice was small but filled with love. She pulled him close, his warmth anchoring her. He whispered softly, "Don't cry, you're stronger than him." Emily clung tighter, her tears falling into his hair. In that fragile moment, Liam's innocence became her shield, reminding her why she had to fight. Emily sat at the edge of her bed, staring at her phone. Her thumb hovered over a number she hadn't dialed in years. Evelyn Carter. The name alone carried weight, heavy with pain and distance. Her chest rose and fell as she whispered to herself, "What if she won't listen? What if it makes everything worse?" Her finger trembled, then pressed the screen. The call rang once, twice, and then her courage faltered. She ended it before it connected. She sat in silence, tears brimming. "I can't fight this alone," she admitted softly. The room felt colder, the walls closing in, as the unspoken truth settled deep within her heart. She would have to reach for the past to save the future. The doorbell rang, sharp against the quiet apartment. Emily hesitated, dread twisting in her chest. When she opened the door, Evelyn Carter stood there, older now, her eyes sharp yet softened by regret. Emily's breath caught, memories flooding. "Why are you here?" she whispered. Evelyn's voice was low, steady. "Because you can't do this alone anymore." Liam peeked from behind the couch, his small frame tense, curious. Emily's hand trembled as she gripped the door, torn between slamming it shut and pulling Evelyn inside. The silence stretched heavy, filled with years of absence. Emily whispered again, her voice breaking, "You left us. Why now?" Evelyn's answer lingered in the air, "Because it's time to face the truth." They sat across from each other at the kitchen table, shadows stretching between them. Evelyn spoke first, her voice trembling but resolute. "Your father hid things, Emily. Daniel used them against you." Emily's eyes narrowed, heart pounding. "What things?" Evelyn slid an envelope across the table, the weight of its secrets pressing like stone. "Proof. He isn't who he claims to be." Emily's hands shook as she opened it, photographs spilling across the wood. Daniel in places he shouldn't have been, with people dangerous to trust. Emily whispered, "All this time." Her anger turned sharp, but so did her hope. Evelyn leaned closer. "This is your chance, use it." Later, Liam wandered into the room, clutching his blanket. He eyed Evelyn cautiously, then climbed onto the chair beside her. "Who are you?" he asked softly. Evelyn's lips curved into a tentative smile. "I'm your grandmother." His eyes widened, studying her face as though searching for pieces of himself. Emily watched silently, her emotions a storm. Liam whispered, "You look like Mom." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears, her voice thick. "And you look like her too." Emily's throat tightened, unsure if she should stop this fragile connection. Yet as Liam leaned against Evelyn, Emily saw a bond forming, one she had never imagined her son would know. That night, Emily paced the kitchen, her mind racing. Evelyn's presence was a wound reopened, a reminder of abandonment that never healed. Evelyn stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching her daughter unravel. "You don't trust me," Evelyn said quietly. Emily stopped, her voice sharp. "You left me when I needed you most. And now, you want me to believe you've changed." Evelyn's eyes brimmed with regret. "I made mistakes, Emily. But I'm here now. Let me help." The words pressed against Emily's defenses, chipping at walls built over decades. She whispered, almost to herself, "Help has always come too late." Daniel sat across from his lawyer, smirking as he slid papers across the polished table. "She doesn't stand a chance," he sneered. His lawyer nodded, eyes scanning the fabricated evidence. "With this, the court will doubt her stability." Daniel leaned back, smug. "They'll believe me. They always do." Outside, the city lights burned cold and distant, reflecting his ambition. He pulled out his phone, typing a message meant to rattle Emily's resolve. "See you in court. You'll lose everything." Meanwhile, Emily, unaware of his latest move, clutched Evelyn's envelope, torn between trust and fear, not knowing Daniel had already escalated the war. The courtroom was heavy with silence as Emily sat at the wooden table, hands folded tight. Daniel entered with confidence, his lawyer trailing like a shadow. Judge Anderson lifted his gaze, voice measured. "This is not about pride, but about Liam's welfare." Emily's heart raced as she glanced toward her son sitting quietly in the back, his innocence stark against the gravity of the moment. Daniel's smirk was faint but cutting, a silent reminder of his arrogance. Emily took a deep breath, whispering to herself, "For Liam, I will not break." The gavel struck, and the battle for her son's future began. Daniel's lawyer stood, voice sharp as he painted Emily as unstable. "She is overwhelmed, unable to provide a safe environment." Emily clenched her fists, forcing herself not to cry. Daniel leaned back, lips curling in satisfaction. Emily's lawyer objected, but the damage was done, the words hung heavy in the air. Emily's chest ached as her eyes flicked toward Liam, who sat watching nervously. She whispered to herself, "They don't see the nights I stayed awake for him. They don't see the sacrifices." Judge Anderson scribbled notes, his expression unreadable, while Emily felt every ounce of her strength tested. The door opened, and Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady as she took the stand. "Emily has been nothing but a devoted mother. She sacrifices everything for Liam." Emily's breath hitched, her heart swelling with gratitude. Daniel scowled, tapping his fingers impatiently. Sarah continued, her tone sharper. "He abandoned them. He's trying to destroy her, not protect Liam." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "Thank you." Sarah met her gaze briefly, giving her a small nod. Judge Anderson leaned back, studying Sarah with measured eyes, his pen hovering over the paper as the truth began to find its way through the lies. The bailiff guided Liam to the stand, his small hands gripping the wooden rail. Emily's heart nearly broke as his eyes darted nervously across the room. Judge Anderson leaned forward gently, voice softer than before. "Do you feel safe with your mother?" Liam's voice was faint but clear. "Yes, she makes me feel safe." Emily's tears slid silently down her cheeks, pride and sorrow mingling. Daniel's jaw tightened, fury flashing in his eyes. The silence after Liam's words carried more weight than any lawyer's argument. Emily whispered to herself, "That's all that matters." The room seemed to shift, truth taking hold. As the hearing dragged on, Emily's strength wavered. Daniel's accusations echoed like knives, each sharper than the last. Her lawyer whispered strategies, but Emily could barely focus. She closed her eyes briefly, images of sleepless nights, long shifts, and Liam's laughter flickering through her mind. Doubt crept in, whispering that she was not enough. She gripped the edge of the table, whispering to herself, "I can't fall apart now." When she looked up, Liam's gaze met hers, his small smile steady and sure. That single look reignited the fire in her heart. She inhaled sharply, her voice whispering inside, "I will not let him win." Emily rose from her seat, her voice trembling at first, but gathering strength. "Daniel has lied," she declared, lifting Evelyn's envelope. She spread the photographs across the table, the evidence clear. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as Daniel's composure cracked. He lunged forward, shouting, "Those mean nothing." Judge Anderson silenced him with a gavel strike. Emily's chest rose and fell, her voice steady now. "He doesn't care about Liam's safety. He only wants control." Daniel's glare faltered, sweat beading on his brow. The truth, long buried, spilled into the open, breaking the walls Daniel had built. Emily whispered, "For Liam, I won't be silent." Emily sat back down, her body trembling. Memories surged like ghosts, her father's voice echoing, "You're too weak to fight." Her throat tightened, tears blurring her vision. Daniel's smirk returned briefly, feeding her doubt. She clenched her fists, nails pressing into her palms. "No," she whispered. Not this time. Her shame rose, heavy with years of silence, but her love for Liam burned brighter. She lifted her head, her voice quivering yet unbroken. I won't let my past define me. In that moment, she wasn't just a mother on trial. She was a woman reclaiming her strength from every wound that once silenced her. Emily stood once more, her voice firm now. I may not have wealth or power, but I have given my son love, safety, and every part of myself. That's what makes a parent. The courtroom fell silent, the weight of her words hanging heavy. Liam watched from the bench, his small hands clasped, pride glowing in his eyes. Emily's heart surged with fire as she continued. This isn't about revenge or winning. It's about a child who deserves peace. Her gaze locked on Judge Anderson. I am his mother, and I will fight for him until my last breath. Silence thundered louder than applause. Judge Anderson leaned back, his fingers steepled. His gaze swept from Daniel's reddened face to Emily's trembling but steady stance. This court has heard both sides, he said slowly. Daniel's lawyer shifted nervously, whispering frantically, but Daniel's confidence had drained. Emily's breath caught, her pulse a drumbeat in her ears. Every moment felt stretched, the room holding its collective breath. Judge Anderson's voice carried finality. The well-being of the child must come first. Emily closed her eyes, whispering silently, Please. The gavel raised, poised to decide not just a case but the course of their lives forever. The gavel struck with finality. Judge Anderson's voice was clear. Custody is awarded to Emily Carter. Emily gasped, covering her mouth, tears spilling freely. Daniel shouted, his fists slamming the table, but his words were drowned by the decision. Liam rushed forward, his small arms wrapping around his mother. We won, Mom, he whispered. Emily clutched him tightly, her sobs mixing with laughter. Evelyn stood at the back, her face softened with quiet pride. Emily's strength had carried her through, but the cost etched deep scars. Still, as she held Liam, she knew the battle was worth every sacrifice. The courtroom was behind her now, but the weight of its echoes clung to Emily. At home, she stood at the kitchen counter, hands resting on cool wood. The apartment felt quieter, different, as though the walls themselves exhaled after the storm. Emily stared at the pile of unopened bills, reminders of battles still waiting. Her reflection in the window revealed tear-streaked cheeks, but also eyes that no longer looked defeated. She whispered softly, We made it, Liam. The silence didn't crush her now, it gave space for something fragile to grow. Strength wasn't triumph. It was surviving the fire and choosing to keep walking. Later, Emily sat with Liam on the couch, the glow of a lamp casting warmth across their faces. He leaned into her, his small frame sinking into safety. Are we safe now, Mom? He asked, his voice a mix of hope and fear. Emily wrapped her arm around him, kissing the top of his head. Yes, sweetheart, we're safe. The words carried the weight of truth and scars both. Liam smiled faintly, his eyelids heavy, drifting into the soft comfort of sleep. Emily listened to his breathing, steady and gentle, each rise and fall a promise she had fought to protect. Evelyn lingered near the door, her coat folded over her arm. Emily turned, tension flickering in her eyes. Evelyn spoke softly, You don't need me to stay. You've proven you can stand on your own. Emily hesitated, searching for words. I still don't understand why you left, but maybe this is a start. Evelyn's lips trembled into a faint smile, her eyes glassy. It's never too late to try. For the first time in years, Emily let a sliver of forgiveness slip through. She nodded once, silently granting Evelyn the chance to walk away not as a stranger, but as family. Emily stepped onto the balcony, the night air cool against her skin. The city stretched below, alive with distant lights. She inhaled deeply, the weight of fear easing with every breath. The battles ahead, work, bills, healing, remained, but she no longer felt powerless. She whispered to herself, The road is long, but it's ours now. Her hands gripped the railing, steady and firm. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future beyond survival. Behind her, Liam stirred in his sleep, the sound grounding her. Tomorrow was uncertain, but tonight, she owned her peace. Emily pushed open Liam's bedroom door, the soft sound of his breathing filling the quiet. She placed a hand gently on the frame, her eyes misting as she watched him sleep peacefully. Sitting beside him, she brushed his hair back with trembling fingers. For the first time, her smile was unburdened, real. She whispered, "We're stronger now, and we'll never stop fighting." Her voice was a vow etched into the night, a promise to herself and to him. She leaned back, letting the stillness cradle her heart. The long road ahead waited, but she no longer feared the journey.